Hello, I'm Adam Green with No More News. It's February 19th, 2019, and this week in the Zionist States of America, Representative Ilhan Omar really caused all of the Zionist-controlled opposition media, especially Alex Jones and InfoWars, to really freak out and lose their minds over some of her tweets, simply acknowledging that AIPAC exists and that they have a lot of influence in Congress.
She issued a pair of tweets over the weekend suggesting that AIPAC, the pro-Israel lobbying group, has bought the support of her colleagues. This is not, however, the first time that Omar has had to apologize for tweets that some see as having anti-Semitic overtones. A couple of weeks.
And then the other tweet that she got in trouble for was, Israel has hypnotized the world. May Allah awaken the people and help them see the evil doings of Israel. Hashtag Gaza, Palestine, Israel. That was back in 2012, probably when the IDF was bombing Gaza to smithereens. But she apologized, and this was Trump's response.
Anti-Semitism has no place in the United States Congress.
So no discussing AIPAC's power in Congress, says the president, who, Michael Glassner from AIPAC, ran his 2016 campaign, and now he's going to run the 2020 campaign as well. Michael Glassner, former director at AIPAC.
Congressman Omar is terrible, what she said. And I think she should either resign from Congress or she should certainly resign from the House Foreign Affairs Committee.
They really want her off of there.
What she said is so deep-seated in her heart.
So deep-seated in her heart, hatred to say that AIPAC exists and that they have influence. How dare her? Nobody in Congress or journalists should ever speak up and say anything about foreign lobbies' influence in our country. That is just pure hatred.
That her lame apology, and that's what it was lame, and she didn't mean a word of it, was just not appropriate. I think she should resign from Congress, frankly. But at a minimum, she shouldn't be on committees, certainly that committee.
So they want to get her off the committee. Of course, Mike Pence agreed. All the Zionist media agreed. Here, Mike Pence says, Ilhan tweets were a disgrace and her apology was inadequate. Anti-Semitism has no place in the United States Congress, so don't ever talk about AIPAC again, much less the Foreign Affairs Committee. Those who engage in anti-Semitic tropes, like acknowledging that AIPAC exists and has a lot of influence in Congress, should not just be denounced. They should face consequences for their words. So they want consequences. Here's another interesting response. Notice these tweets. It's about the Benjamins, as if money doesn't buy influence in Washington, and AIPAC as if they're not one of the most powerful lobbies. Even if they don't give out the most money directly, they have their loopholes and they have their systems. And trust me, everybody knows, it's well known, they're one of the most influential, if not the most powerful lobbies in Congress.
Omar, you are a vile, disgusting anti-Semite. Where is the leadership of the Democratic Party to speak out about this vile anti-Semitism? Where are the leaders of the Democratic Party to speak out against this malicious attack upon the Jewish people? I am asking Democrats to speak out unequivocally.
She hates Israel. She's an anti-Semite.
I wonder how much he hates Palestine, how much he hates Islam, how much he hates Arabs.
Her comments, the things that she said, crossed the line in every single way. It's the kind of stuff that you find in the Protocols of Elders of Zion. Hitler's Mein Kampf, she would feel very comfortable. In fact, we're sending her a copy of that tomorrow. The bottom line is that she indulged in vicious, vile anti-Semitism. And this is not the first time. Anti-Semitism, there's no tolerating anti-Semitism ever. There is never an excuse. But the problem with the Democratic Party, and it's going to pay a very serious price for this, is the tolerating of anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
There's got to be zero tolerance.
Zero tolerance. That means never talk about money buying influence in Congress, or Sheldon Adelson being Trump's top campaign contributor, an Israel firster, or AIPAC's power. Notice the outrage. Zero tolerance. She should resign for mentioning AIPAC. This is getting creepy where the standard is. And there was already a bill after the BDS, Rep. Zeldin from New York had House Resolution 72 he was trying to get a vote on, rejecting anti-Israel and anti-Semitic hatred in the United States and around the world. But here he is.
Reject the anti-Israel and anti-Semitic hatred that we are starting to see infiltrating American politics and even the halls of Congress. It is important that we all come together, that we work together, not empower, not embrace, associate with individuals and rhetoric and policy that promotes this anti-Israel and anti-Semitic hatred, but that we reject it. It was just a couple weeks ago that this chamber came together nearly unanimously to reject white supremacy. What is taking so long for House Democratic leadership to schedule a vote on House Resolution 72 that I introduced with Congressman Budd, Congresswoman Stefanik, Congressman Walker is a co-sponsor, and others as well? Why can't we come together as forcefully and urgently to reject that anti-Semitism and that anti-Israel hatred?
So no supporting BDS. Like, the only thing that we can do, a peaceful boycott, voting with our dollars, they want to take that away too. Israel is more protected than the United States, as you'll see in the rest of this video. So they didn't pass that bill, but instead, after these tweets from Omar, the House added on a special amendment to a bill that's about to be passed. And here's the clip of that happening. Our freedom of speech goes away to thunderous applause here.
Mr. Speaker, we should all be alarmed by this international trend. No one should be forced to live in fear of violence or be deterred from participating in their faith community. The United States must remain a global leader, not only in speaking out against anti-Semitism, but in holding those who enable those vile beliefs accountable.
See, this is about action. They want to. How are you going to hold people's beliefs accountable? Throw people in jail, fine them, penalize them for their beliefs because they believe a certain minority group has overrepresentation of power, because they're censoring things like crazy, because we have a foreign country that has such a stranglehold over our presidency and over Congress. We're not allowed to talk about any of that anymore.
Our motion to recommit adds language to HJ Res 37 that affirms that it is in the national security interest of the United States to combat anti-Semitism around the world. It states that we must make combating anti-Semitism a priority.
Okay, so stopping anti-Semitism worldwide is the new United States priority, and it's our national security interest that no one in the whole world says anything bad about Israel. They say you're delegitimizing Israel. You could say any negative coverage or journalism on Israel is delegitimizing Israel. And wait till you see the language. I'm going to show you the actual laws they're trying to push through and already have on the books.
In all of our diplomatic relationships. And we need to ensure that Jews around the world feel safe in their communities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is the final amendment to the bill. It would not kill the bill nor send it back to committee. If adopted, the resolution will immediately proceed to final passage as amended. Mr. Speaker, the attack in October last year against the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh was a devastating...
In other words, he just explained that they're using the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting so that they can add on this amendment without any kind of debate on the floor. Apparently, they're just going to add it on at the end on a bill that's already about to pass through onto the Senate.
Assault on the Jewish community. By inflicting violence on a neighborhood's congregation Shabbat morning service, the gunman sent a bone-chilling message. Even in 2018, hate-filled individuals will attack Jews simply for being Jewish. The Anti-Defamation League believes that this is the deadliest attack on the Jewish community in the history of the United States of America. This tragedy is merely one part of an upsetting development that has emerged in recent years, a resurgence of anti-Semitism around the globe.
So anti-Semitism is increasing around the globe. Do they ever have an honest conversation about why? Or do they just say the whole world is anti-Semitic? They hate us just because we're Jews. Is that really the narrative that they're playing in their head?
The Anti-Defamation League reported a 60% rise in anti-Semitic incidences in the United States from 2016 to 2017.
I wonder how many of the self-inflicted vandalisms they're including in there.
If this resolution is going to move forward, it should do so while making a strong statement that the United States has no tolerance for anti-Semitism.
No tolerance for ever mentioning AIPAC again in Congress. Don't ever talk about their power or influence again.
I urge all members to stand in solidarity with Jews around the world and support the motion to recommit. Thank you.
Zero tolerance to never mention it again. And they all cheer. Standing cheers. The other
Yes,
side, the Democrat agrees.
Yes, I rise in support of this resolution.
Standing applause. Talk about grandstanding. What a way to prove that they're not controlled by AIPAC.
First of all, I accept this resolution, and I agree with everything that Mr. Kustoff just said. Anti-Semitism is a scourge. It's a scourge on humanity. It's a scourge in this country, and it has to be fought just the way prejudice of any kind has to be fought. I think that this entire House should support this and say once and for all with a united voice, we will not tolerate anti-Semitism in any shape or form.
Any shape or form. That means any criticism at all whatsoever. They use one synagogue shooting, to now make it so you can't say anything about Israel, their religion, Zionism, anything anymore. Their influence in finance or Hollywood or anything like that. Can't talk about it at all, any shape or form, zero tolerance. Are you seeing this? Just wait till you see the language in the bills.
And I yield back the balance of my time.
And they celebrate, they vote. The yays have it, but a couple no's go, so they go, I want to hear a vote, and then they all voted yes because they're all afraid. And so here's the ADL, who they're referencing, who's justifying all this and loving all of this. What is anti-Israel, anti-Semitic, and anti-Zionist? So they say, is criticism of Israel always anti-Semitic? No, of course. You can criticize Israel. You just can't say this and that or this and this. And then it says it crosses the line into anti-Semitism when all Jews are held responsible for the actions of Israel. That's fair. You can't blame the actions of the people in power for all people around the world. That's fair. But here's where it gets bad. Denying the right to exist as a Jewish state. So what does that mean, to deny the right? Does that mean that boycotting until they have fair treatment of the Palestinians and supporting BDS, is that considered anti-Semitic under this clause, the terms here? Denied the right to exist. So just saying anything negative about them, can that be interpreted as denying the right to exist? And then, of course, anti-Semitic symbols. So I don't know exactly what they mean by that. Does that mean I can't use Star of David's in my thumbnails to represent and identify and label the state of Israel? If it's on their flag, we should be able to use symbols. Symbols represent things. So, I mean, unless it's violence or nudity or something underage like that, I don't see why things should be considered anti-Semitic. Images or theories. So that's the other part. Theories. No traditional theories. Any theory. So they just, anything we say, they'll go, oh, that's a conspiracy theory, so you're anti-Semitic. And they don't have to debate it because, that's the magic term, conspiracy theory. So, and in all of this, they're freaking out just over these tweets in Congress and rushing that bill through. And then we already had in 2015, Obama signs an anti-BDS bill into law. That was for a foreign law. And then we got HR 672. This is Combating European Anti-Semitism Act of 2017. That was signed by the president and became law. And what it says, this is the law here, HR 672. It is called the Combating European Anti-Semitism Act. And here, read the language. It's the same that's on the U.S. State Department website, state.gov website, making stereotypical allegations about Jews as such. The Jews of power of Jews as a collective. The myth of a world Jewish conspiracy, as if their whole religion in Zionism isn't, the end game isn't all about having Israel, all the Jews in diaspora making Aliyah, and then having the temple rebuilt and their king, the anointed Messiah, ruling the whole world and having all the non-Jewish nations follow Noahide laws. This is exactly what they believe. And Ben-Gurion said it in his own interview in the 60s. He wants it. The first prime minister of Israel says he prophesizes the future. It's as prophesied by Isaiah, a supreme court of mankind and a shrine of the prophets in a global government, all in control in Israel. So you can't talk about controlling the media, the economy, or other societal institutions. So like I said, no criticism at all whatsoever. It's all considered anti-Semitism. It's all condemned now. It's all considered illegal. And they're going to take these clauses that are on the State Department website and just enact them into law, and it's going to be total shutdown. We also have, even when the government shut down, the Senate first bill they try to pass is a bill all about anti-boycotting Israel. You're not allowed to boycott Israel. He's giving the right to states and local governments to penalize and punish and only give contracts out to pro-Israel companies and not give any contracts to companies that promote BDS, systematically putting them out of business and propping up and keeping the pro-Israel companies in business. Another complete violation. But the Senate passed it. Rand Paul was the only Republican that voted against it. We also got Haaretz. Trump finally fills anti-Semitism envoy post, names U.S. Army veteran Elon Carr. Now, this post, this anti-Semitism czar post, was left vacant for a while. I don't understand why, but Congress actually passed a law to force the president to fill it. See here, leading to protests from lawmakers and Jewish groups. And another connection here, the Carr, Sheldon Adelson donated $100,000 to the new anti-Semitism czar, the head of the anti-Semitism envoy. Sheldon Adelson's puppet for $100,000. How about that? So here is U.S. Department of State, where they have the definition of anti-Semitism, and they get this straight from some kind of like Holocaust group. They're the ones that defined what it means. It's all up on the Jewish Virtual Library, but it's the same exact language that they have in the in the bill, the foreign bill, and the new bill that they're trying to pass probably. Stereotypical allegations. Power, not allowed to talk about their power or what they control. Like, how dangerous is this, that there's a small group of people that have overrepresentation of power of all of the important industries, and now they're passing laws where we can't talk about their power, where we can't even mention their lobbies. Talk about Orwellian violation of free speech, and incredibly dangerous. Also, you're not allowed to talk about them being more loyal, having loyalty to Israel or to Zionism. You're not allowed to say that Israel is racist, even though many Israelis and many American Jews believe that, especially with the latest law and the stuff that the top politicians and rabbis over there say about non-Jews and especially Palestinians and Arabs. You're not allowed to make comparisons. Like, how are they allowed to say that we're not allowed to make comparisons in our head? Like, I see what's happening in Gaza, and it looks like an open-air concentration camp. I can say, that reminds me of what happened in Germany with the Nazis. I'm allowed to say that, but nope, that's anti-Semitism now, and that's going to be considered illegal. And see, here it is. Anti-Semitic acts are criminal when they are so defined by law. For example, some European countries aren't allowed to talk about World War II. And that's going to be coming here very, very soon.